All right, welcome back to the Hustler Circle, 3 Minds, 1 Mission. We have another special guest, Adrian, who's one of our business partners, but also has started some successful e-commerce businesses and is a Shopify expert. Personally, I've worked with him for over 2 years now, and it's been a pleasure, but I'm really, really excited for those watching this episode to learn a little bit more from Adrian and his skill set, but also anyone who's thinking about starting their own shop or e-commerce brand. He's going to share some nuggets, but also provide a little bit more about his story, how he got started. Adrian is significantly younger than I am, but he's a lot more skilled than I was at that age. So I'm actually really, really, really excited to have you on the show. I'm going to kick it off with just reminding everybody to hit the like and subscribe button if you like content like this. But also, I'm going to kick it off to Dee to make the intro because I met Adrian through Dimitri. And it's been a great relationship since I've known him for more than 2 years, but I've been working with him for 2 years. But Dee, I'll give you the microphone so you can introduce Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian, we got together during our e-vapors days when we had the vape shop. You guys always hear about that in most of our podcasts. A lot of the stuff a lot of the reasons why we're at where we're at right now is because of the vape shop. And then Adrian used to come by as a consumer, and then he grew a friendship with my brother. And then ultimately, from one day to the next, when we were growing out of the vape shop and we were getting our office, it got to a point where we were like, hey, Adrian, we have this and this and this happening. You're always kind of around. Like, what would it take? And obviously, it's been a while because now we've been working together for like how long?
4 years, like 4 years, almost 5 years coming on.
Yeah, I mean, no, pre-COVID.
Working together.
Yeah, but like since 2018.
Yeah.
So like 7 years already, and it's I forgot if and tell me if I'm wrong. When you came over, it was like, hey, we're gonna offer you this much, and you quit your job, came on, and then from that point forward, Adrian, we were working together, cool, and then we started e-commerce brand. He became a partner there, and then now we have multiple e-commerce brands where he's a partner and he runs all the operations out of. And he's more of like an ops manager. He knows all the things that are happening behind the scenes with website, domain authority, placement, automations, SOP. So a lot of the things that even sometimes that you see here with Funding Supreme, or definitely with Credit Supreme, like he was part of the foundational structure when it was being put in place.
And I think, everything starts and ends with like how you got started, Adrian. So I want to, kick things off with you and just get a better understanding of your origin story. Like what drove you to make that pivot from wherever you were to start doing more e-commerce? Obviously it was an opportunity, but want to understand a little bit more about like what switch flipped for you to go into that area space, and what have you learned in that time frame as well?
Yeah, definitely. First off, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm excited for this. And kind of parlaying off what Dimitri said and to directly answer your question, my whole life I've always been willing to take the leap to find out where I fall, right? And I'm not scared of that. And good and bad things have come from that. But specifically, into the e-commerce space, like Dimitri said, when we, started the e-vapors, just conversations over and over the years that eventually blossomed and created, a fruitful business relationship. And, I feel like everybody has seen it on Instagram when it comes to like the drop shipping and make millions and ads and all these different things. So it's definitely been something that piqued my interest, especially coming from a background of trading time for money. I wanted to do something where, you can put work in, make money, and then while you're on your rest time, not necessarily doing the work, you're still making money, right? Yeah. Many people have said the only way to truly make money is to make money while you sleep. And e-commerce was a path to do so. Before we got into the e-commerce venture, like Dimitri said, working at Credit Supreme, definitely like help build a lot of the operational skills, a lot of, not just working, getting things done, providing value aspect of it. But with the e-commerce, I actually started a candle business. Me and one of my other boys, we were like, hey, let's do this. Let's get an office space. And we went what we thought, was balls to the wall at that point, right? Looking back on it, it was kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it stuck. Yeah. But, that was the first, like, creating a Shopify store. I'd be embarrassed to see what it, now if that Shopify store from what it looked like. But just trying things out, taking candles to IKEA for photo shoots, right? And getting kicked out and all those different things. But those were all, steps into the learning to get to where I'm at now. And then more specifically, when we made the commitment to start the e-commerce businesses, just like, hey, all we know is we know nothing, but we know one thing, and that's how to figure things out.
Yeah.
That was a really big point. Just, hey, whether it's right or wrong, we're going to try. And if it's wrong, we go again. And if it's right, we're on to the next thing. And we just keep rinsing and repeating that all the way up until now. I think every one of us does that in every part of our lives and every part of our business, relationships and ventures.
No, that's good to to kind of segue into. You've seen on the personal side starting your own candle business, which I think is still dope. Like, and for those watching, he really means scented candles and stuff like that. Which honestly, I would have expected a machine always made it.
Yeah.
But then he explained it to me, and it was pretty wild and interesting how you do it and the concept behind it. But you learned a lot through that specific example in your career path of how to fail in an e-com business. Right. And you've brought a lot of those learnings, which, to be honest with you, before I started working with you guys, I would purchase stuff, which what I would assume was on a Shopify store, but I didn't know the ins and outs and how much the curation and the keywords and like the ability for that product to be searchable across the internet is so integral, because you would assume that I'm buying something on Instagram and it was just targeted to me because someone paid, $35 for that ad to hit me specifically. But that ad is only really resonating because that specific product is keyword to something that I'm usually either consuming or searching on Google. Correct. So that kind of component is what drew me in to like kind of learn a lot more from you. And we've seen a lot in the last 2 years. Starting a snacks business that we eventually sold off. But that was a wild ride. I'm like, it was a highs and lows, but it ended up being a really good exit at that point. And for me, I think the skill set you have, and would love to double click on it a little bit, is a jack of all trades. So like, there's a lot of sayings, and I've been in operations and strategy for a long time, so I'm a very well skilled like person. But I'm like, there is a innate skill set that certain people have that you can give them a task and they'll find a way to resolve and give you an output that wows you. And I'm like, you have that skill set and you're still refining that skill set. Talk to like us a little bit about like what like gears and turns your gears inside in a good way for like you thinking about problem solving something outside of the box.
I mean, this stems back all the way from like my first job or the opportunities I was given, right? Even prior to our meeting, or even, kicking off the ventures, right? And just going into any room, acting like you deserve to be there, and with the mindset that you're going to walk out with what you expect to receive. Right. So whether that be, I have a background in nightlife, walking to venue owners and saying, hey, I want your Saturday night and I'm going to fill it with people, and I want X, Y, and Z of the bar. Give me this percentage and yeah, let's do it. And then them willingly agree to it. Right. So this 18, 20, 19-year-old kid to do it. And then I walk out and say, all right, how do I do it now? Right. And then you have that deadline of till the night is to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. So believing things before they actually happen is really, really crucial to making it happen. And then also making yourself, have no other resort other than making it happen. It needs to get done, and you're the person who needs to get it done. So get it done, right? The whole, I don't know how to do this, or what about this? What about that? Who cares? The reality is black and white. Either it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. It did happen. It didn't happen. It got done or it didn't get done. But more specifically with the jack of all trades, I do, have this school of thought where, I will never ask somebody to do something that I won't do myself, right? So some days I'm, in the warehouse counting the inventory, right? The next day I may be on a phone call trying to sell the business, right? For multiple, 7 figures. And it's just the ability to be able to navigate and not think too highly of yourself, right? Just focus on what needs to get done, who can get it done. If that answer becomes, yourself, then deliver on that. And do it better than, you would even expect yourself to do it, because not only is the result going to be better, but the people watching you do it are going to carry that, set of an example and apply that to their future actions in themselves.
No, that's a great response. And I think, you kind of hit it on the head when you say the energy that you put towards solutioning and providing value is matched. And that's why our partnership works really well, is because, there'll be days where like, I'm in a rut because, I'm backed up on certain things, and then D's on 100. Yeah. Right. And then and then you can take the flexibility to go and, with your family for a week, and you don't feel like you leaving, the business falls to the abyss. And that's the circular kind of like engagement that we have in our partnership that I want folks to always strive for when they create some type of relationship with someone. It's not only business, it's the friendship, and it's the feeling that you have everybody's back. And I feel like those components, you tackle on the operational acumen, it's the sky's the limit. Because I'm always trying to problem solve. I just got off a call right before this podcast where we're building a relationship with a big bank that's going to help us get access to, loans for our business funding clients. And I'm like, that conversation was triggered by Alex, who's not even in the application process, but he had a couple of minutes today to make phone calls while we were working with clients. And it's just like, it's that mindset to like, I'm gonna tackle this problem and see if I find a solution. And he's not out here making shirts that I'm the best because I found it. I'm like, none of us are. Like
no, and
that.
deeper than that too is, yes, like does he have you're 27 now?
Yep.
At 27, he already has 99% more business prowess than most business and entrepreneurs out there. It is what it is.
Yeah.
He's been responsible for purchasing businesses, selling businesses. He knows the multipliers. He knows anything and everything under the sun as it pertains to running a business successfully. And that's fine because that's been through the experience with myself and with my brother as well through the times that we've been together. Now, it hasn't always been fun. It hasn't always been pleasurable, but for the most part, it has been. And then ultimately, let's go back just a few months ago. Last year in 2024, you have your set pay every week as a partner. You spent 3 months in Europe. You went to more countries last year than most people will ever go to in their lives. And just a few years ago, you were working at the airlines.
Right.
Like that's the experience right there. Because yes, like being an entrepreneur is cool. Yes. But like, what did that translate to in terms of the betterment of your personal life? You are more cultured because of circumstances and situations and people that you got into relationships with, us and now Chris. And now look at your life, bro. Like it's bro, like when I see you traveling and you're spending 3 months, it's dope to know that like my partner gets paid whether he's in the office or out of the office. It's dope to know that you're able to go to all these countries within a certain time frame with your family because of that. So those things are like the things that cannot be ignored in terms of entrepreneurship and being able to be a business owner. But what people don't talk about is the days that are shitty, where we take the L's, where we're not at our best performances, when we're in a rut or whatever. So that I think is for me, seeing the trajectory in which you've gone, where everybody goes within our circle, like that to me is one of the cooler parts because yes, I didn't pay for your flight. I didn't do this, but like in some way I contributed to that situation because I was there at the origination of it.
For sure. I mean, in my overall life, you've definitely contributed. So kudos on that. But, kind of hinting about what some stuff that you guys said was like, I think the biggest aspect is loyalty, right? And loyalty is something that I hold very true and dear because it's not like, hey, I have your back and you have mine, right? What loyalty to me is that regardless of what happens in the situation, it's the ability to come back, circle back, and no matter whether it's good, bad, uncomfortable, or very comfortable, you're back at that table and you're committed to staying at that the fictitious table, right? And overcoming those challenges. Yep. So, with you guys as partners, right? One of the biggest benefits that I think that I can say we have, right, is that whether we're mad, happy, have problems with each other, or whatever the case may be, we are by no means scared to face it and bring it to each other. No. If I'm slipping up, you guys most definitely bring it to my attention and vice versa, right? Whether it be business, personal, relationships, whatever it may be. And, even if you don't necessarily have partners or people in your life to do that, it's that loyalty to yourself to say, hey, I have this goal set out. I want to achieve X, Y, and Z. And if you're straying away from that, or if you have a bad day, it's not to forget about it and use that to bring you down. On the contrary, bring that up, address what went wrong, what went right? And use that to power up to keep going. None of us are perfect, right? And especially the age of social media, people really only show the good. Nobody ever shows the bad, right? And there's a lot more bad than good, right? Because you have to go through the bad to get to the good.
Yeah, and even more from a perspective of what you consider bad, others consider grind. So like, for example, like we post on our socials, we obviously want to portray like the success that we're getting our clients on stuff. But I'm like, for every client that succeeds, there's clients that are pending to succeed, right? But then there's also like times where I'm on till 1 a.m, 2 a.m, and then I'm here the next day at 9 a.m. and I'm fine, right? Like I'm like, and you know this already. I'm like, and even like Rico who does our video, I'm like, you've never seen me complain. Like I'm usually the last person to complain. If I'm complaining, there's probably something wrong. You get me? Like in that kind of setup. And that's because like I know whatever I give to this business and our partnership is you guys are giving 3x that. right? So like I'm always just constantly going. And I'm like, sometimes I have to stay up till late because that's the only time I'm uninterrupted. And some people don't do it, and that's totally fine with them. Everybody works their own schedules.
Yep.
But for me, I'm a night owl, and that's when I get shit done. And unfortunately, clients are calling me all day, or I have like the loan guys calling me now. I'm like constantly getting documents ready and all this stuff. I'm like, so it's like a cyclical thing that like that 9 to 11 o'clock till 12 in the morning, I'm just in there like, let me catch up on everything. And I'm like, I'm not as good as D is on responding to clients on text because I'm in a meeting. I can't be like, give me 1 second.
No, but you're handling a lot of other shit too. Like, bro, like you handle a lot of the heavy lifting on things that like I'm not gonna do. So it's like that caring in itself. It really comes together. Like, and we always say everything is the same. Whether it's the text messages or an email or drafting an agreement or picking up somebody's phone calls. Like, because if I'm not picking the phone call, I'm pretty sure you are. And if you're not answering the text, I will. So it's like everything balances itself out.
It's a good complementary approach. And Adrian's very similar to me in like what he offers our other businesses in that scenario. And that's why me and him have always, stayed in daily connections and figuring out. And he pings me for ideas or I ping him for stuff because it's a good duality to have.
And cutting the fat too and not talking about things that I already am about. Like, I don't talk about teamwork. I am teamwork. I will sacrifice whatever you need me to sacrifice at whatever moment. You tell me to pull up, I'm going to be there. You tell me to be on a phone call, I'm going to be there. Now, if you put me in a situation where you're wasting my time as a partner, as a friend or whatever, I'm going to hold you accountable because that's the healthy thing to do. But ultimately, the self-sacrifice has to be included in partnerships where I know that if I'm falling, you guys are my safety net and you guys are there to catch me. But if there's no true understanding of that, then it becomes the narrative of the hypothesis of teamwork. So that's when I already know, like, which didn't work out with our last partner when we were doing the funding. It's all about talking about teamwork, talking like we are teamwork. That's what we do. And like, if you're talking about getting to that destination, I already know we're on different playing fields. Because I know the day of tomorrow, if I tell you to send me a wire for this much, you're going to do it and probably ask me the questions later because I've built that trust. It's a chain that gets longer the less it is pulled. And I haven't done it to you. You haven't done it to me. I haven't done it to you. You haven't done it to me. So that for me is like the true definition of like really why we've been able to, we don't each have M's, but we're right there. We're right there. And it's because of the fact that like, I know that at the end of the month, I'm splitting it with X, Y, and Z. But I also know that you guys are putting in the hours that I'm not putting in or vice versa. And that's awesome because like we say with like when you're with your travels, now you're in a position where, you have happiness and joy through on a personal side.
Yep, most definitely.
And I think, so let's circle the conversation now back to getting some insights from you, Adrian, around like how, if anybody watching this podcast is thinking about starting their own Shopify store, e-commerce store, like how have you seen the client acquisition work? And I would say the reason why I'm asking you this because you have personally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing for our brands. So you already know the whole like, let's drop a $60K a month on ads on Instagram. And then you're seeing that today doesn't work like it used to 2 years ago. So like I would love to pick your brain a little bit about like if someone is looking to start their own Shopify. So like what are the things that they need to think about before they even start like the Instagram train or they start like customer acquisition? Like what do they do?
Right. I think the first question that people need to ask themselves is, what am I trying to do? Right. Do you want to make money? Do you want to grow a brand? Do you want to tell a story or do you want to solve a problem? And each are as very much similar as they are different. Right. So, starting a brand and solving a problem sometimes go hand in hand, sometimes they don't, right? You can find a product that, is already out there and make it 1% better and offer that, right? And whether you want to grow that as a brand and scale that, or you just want to kind of pump ads because you have some sort of science when it comes to ads or someone who's really know-ish when it comes to that, and you just kind of want to undercut the market that you see an opportunity for. I lean more into the brand side of it because I believe that a brand has the flexibility to launch different products and be able to market to those customers more in order to, get more sales, more dollars from them and, more lifetime value out of that relationship. Whereas when it comes to like the drop shipping or the kind of the pump and dumps of e-commerce, it's more just how do I make this quick buck and it's as gone as fast as it came, right? Trending. It's great for making money, but it's bad for longevity. But in specifically, with starting a brand, you have to be real with yourself, right? And I don't mean be real with yourself like, hey, I'm going to do this. No, what I mean be real with yourself is like, you're not going to sell bottles of water right now. Look who you're competing against.
Yeah.
Right? Starting a water bottle company is you have to understand what you have to come to the table with as far as budget, product, what's differentiating yourself. Yeah. What are you going to do? Right? And until you have those answers and say, hey, you know what? I'm really competing with some giants here. I don't know if I can really swing that big. Right? You have to understand that before you say, I'm going to be the next millionaire and I'm going to grow this brand and live in this fictitious land, right? Of hey, this is going to be something big. But once you really narrow down what you want to do, it's time to get into how you're going to do it. Yeah. Right? So, ironically enough, not only did we start e-commerce, but we chose the hardest things to start e-commerce with, which is called high risk, right? Yeah. It's kind of red tape, the smoke shop products. And those are kind of blacklisted on a lot of different things, right? Yeah. Shopify being one of them. Certain apps you can send SMS messages, certain marketing platforms. So whereas everything is black and white, this is a very gray area that we've had to finagle and work our way in. And really understand that like the product that you're offering is as much as the product as it is the value you're providing to your customers. Is it a good product? Yep. Are you delivering on time? Is your customer service where it needs to be?
Exactly.
Right? Because you can have a terrible product, but as long as people are buying it and you're going out of your way to make sure that they feel, taken care of as a customer, you're good, right? Because you can always evolve your product. Another thing is, and I fell from this, when we first started, was the perfectionism.
Yeah.
Hey, I need this to be perfect before it launches. Answer is no, you don't. Get it 70% of the way.
MVP.
Launch it, and improve it as you go. Because your belief of what you think perfection is far from the reality of which is. And the only way that you find that middle ground of what actually is quote unquote perfection or close to thereof is the feedback you get or the reactions you get from your customers. So if you never get that, how do you cross that bridge from 60 to 100%? Right? A lot of people get stuck in that land of like, I'm waiting to the perfect time to launch. And it's like, you're never going to get there if you don't get feedback from the customers.
Yeah. And that feedback in itself is already a direct representation as to where you are as an entrepreneur, considering someone comparing against someone who's considering opening a business, because they cannot even fathom what you just said until they've experienced it. Yep. And when they've experienced it, they've experienced two things. One, loss of money, and the business probably failed. And two, and most importantly, loss of time, which you don't get back. So like, that's the other thing too. Like there's a lot of, just like in team sports, there's a lot of like X factors on players within the game that don't get on the proverbial scoreboard. That's the same thing too with having the historical data on your side from being a business owner and taking losses and wins and losses and more wins. You understand now where it is what buttons I need to press in order to get this machine going. Yep. And then kind of like a video game, they're dropping video games now and then they do patches every 60 days or whatever the case. It's the same thing with business. Yep. Run it, start doing the patches as you go.
Yep. And it's a story, right? So tell the story. Yeah. They don't start the movie telling you the ending. Right? They take you in the opening scene, then take you through the journey. You watch your characters grow, like you'd watch your business grow, right? We've had businesses that we've spent, close to $100,000 in marketing, brand, not even marketing, but brand design, website design, email campaign build out, product design, packaging, for it to shit the bed. Yeah. And we have other brands that we've put in $2,500 and kind of flipped the revenue as it came back in to keep growing it. And those turn out to be more fruitful. Why? Because we gave ourselves the room for the error, understanding that was going to lead to improvements.
And even then, even within all that, even the businesses that failed, let's talk about one. Let's talk about the snacks. Yep. So we bought orderexoticsnacks.com, pumped in like $100,000 into it, boom, boom, whatever. It still does sales to this day. Now, not to what we need, not for our lifestyle, what have you, but they all get fulfilled. The domain keeps getting more authority and it's super mainstream. So maybe 5 years from now, 6 years from now, we bought that domain for $1,500. Maybe we sell it for $150K because exotic snacks are now trending and that's a crazy mainstream name. So even within that loss, there's going to be a silver lining at some point because they're not making any more. That is the only domain and we already own it. And the same thing goes with all of the other brands that we own as well that may not be where we want them to be, but the domain authority is aging. The historical data is there and brokers are probably, shopping it as we speak. Yeah. So that's also the thing to look at even within the losses. Like there's still wins there if you look at things glass half full.
Yeah, and I think kind of tying back to what I said before, being real with yourself is like not every business is meant to make you a millionaire. No. Some businesses will only produce you $10,000 of profit a month, and that's fine. But give it that attention where that's what it's entitled for, right? It's intended for $10,000 a month. Perfect. How do I optimize this, compartmentalize this, and pretty much have it run where you're getting paid that, but it's not taking up majority of your time.
Yeah.
You have to be real with yourself and say, hey, we needed X, Y, and Z. We don't have X, Y, and Z to get that where it needs to be. How can we set it up to succeed at the most where it is right now and put our attention into some other opportunities that are in front of us?
And what are you sacrificing? Because snacks, brother, I was up till God knows what time, on CapCut with the snacks, this, that, and the other. 2 months later, or even within that time frame, we're doing funding for clients. I'm making $15,000 off of a client, and I'm doing CapCut to sell a $30 fucking Twix from Canada or from Australia or something.
Yep.
So in reality, yeah, like when you put the numbers up, obviously one is bringing a lot more in terms of like ROI, but is it? Maybe the day of tomorrow we get offered something crazy for whatever. So like it's a matter of what is the person willing to sacrifice at that moment in time on a consistent basis, because I was already locked in, like, download the CapCut, I'm gonna learn how to do this, whatever, boom, I'm gonna create the content, tag the boys, everybody reposting their thing. And then when it didn't make sense anymore, then we just stopped doing it.
Yep.
But for that time frame that I was invested, I'm fully in. And that's the way it needs to be with anybody who's starting a business, because if not, what are we talking about?
Yep. And call bullshit.
Yeah.
Whether it's people speaking to you, whether it's the numbers not lining up, you can't live in this la-la land of like, oh, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be this. Hey, what is it right now? What does it really have the ability to be? And that's not emotion based at all. That is straight numbers based, factual based, and the data will show that. And if the data doesn't show that, can you make a change to it that'll actually impact the data? If not, be real with yourself. Say, hey, this is what it is. This is black and white. Cool, and make decisions based off that. Yeah. Don't lead with emotion.
And I think, starting like you were saying in the beginning, like starting any e-commerce brand or shop, it starts with, what are you trying to achieve? Like, what is the solution? Is it a product? Is it a service? And then figuring out, like, is it subscription? Is it recurring? Is it single purchase? All those nuances will create what I call like the reverse funnel to target, like what type of marketing you should get to. Not always is it, let me spend $100 to see if someone, buys this product. I mean, you'd be surprised how much you get from an authentic post on your socials, and it goes viral because someone, you explain something to someone of like, hey, you say you make a tea. Like I don't drink yerba mate like what Argentinians drink, but I know there's a huge market for it, right? And then there's folks who are making organic, grass-fed, no pesticide yerba mate, which you would assume is all over Argentina, but no, like it's a machine, it's a business. So like people are cutting corners, all that stuff, and then people make it brand. I just got targeted. I'm like, dude, I've never drank yerba mate in my life. Why would I get targeted? Point in case of like, it's just throwing out in the ocean, see what sticks. But then I was reading, I was like, oh, let me look it up and see what's up with this brand. And it was a dope brand. Like the guy, went to Argentina like 5 times. He fell in love with it, but then he started getting sick from like buying the cheap yerba mate. So he's like, let me see if I can find a sourcing company. He spoke with someone, they have freaking like 100 acres. And then he created his own brand. But the brand name is the name of the farm where he gets it from. Yep. And now these people, they're business partners, 50-50 down the line. They do all the work. He just markets it in the US. And I was like, bro, this kid's a freaking
But even
G.
if you have all those things in place, you have the budget, you have the runway, you have the idea, you have the sourcing, you have the vendors, you have the distribution, what can also happen?
You can fail.
Exactly. Yeah. You can fail.
But he was willing to take that risk.
Exactly. You have to. The thing is, when you make a decision like that for real, like it's kind of hard to explain in words, but you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with taking that loss, like for real, like losing your time, losing your money, and maybe even losing your shit. And if you're not okay with that, don't do it, because you never really fully committed. You have to be all in, not from a metrical standpoint, monetarily, emotionally. You have to be in everything, from every single component. If you're not all in with whatever you're looking to do, whether you're looking to be e-commerce, whether you're looking to get your degree and become a vet, or whatever it is, like you have to be all in, because if not, you're gonna get some timing performance results.
And I'm like, look, I obviously I'm a college graduate. I have 2 degrees. I got into medical school. I chose not to go to medical school because I wasn't all in. And I'm like, I feel like those are probably one of the few professions that you want to be all in.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can be an entrepreneur having been a sociology major, an engineer. Like, there's so many things you can do with every other degree. Like medicine, it's like,
And the
you
thing
either
is,
love it, you hate it, and then you can see the people who resented choosing a specific profession
because they were never all in.
They were never all in.
The problem is with people like us, when we are all in, we're one thing, we're dangerous.
Yeah.
And when we're not all in, we're just sometiming.
You can smell it.
You can feel it. You know, I'm going to bring the smoke every day.
Yeah.
You guys know that. I'm going to bring it every single day. And I know you guys are going to bring it every day too, because we're committed.
Yep.
I'm committed to the betterment. I don't care about the distributions and the paychecks, because that's going to be, like we always say, it's a byproduct of all of the hard work that we're doing. So, you know, commitment is one of the things that for me at least gets kind of thrown out the door. Like, because it's everything. I'm committed to the client. I'm committed to myself. I'm committed to my brother, to my friends, to my business partners, to my future clients. Like, I already have that commitment to people that haven't even met me.
Yep.
That's how sick I am. Like, that's how deep I really think about this, because everything is interconnected on this proverbial spectrum. So, you know, at least for me, that's the most important component.
And you get like one shot. Like, let's say we're working on something and you try to include me into it, and I don't reciprocate that commitment. Like, you're gonna expect me to already know what's up when you disinvolve me, right? And we carry that with any business partner, anybody that we go into deals with or we're trying to work on something with, is like, you either show it or you're out, right? And there's no room to explain it.
I don't know.
But that's not a personal decision. It's more, it's more like, bro, the train is going. Like, either you jump on or you get run over by the train.
Yeah.
I'm like, but we're not gonna go back and stop the train. Be like, hey, are you okay? No, it's like, brother, like, there's another opportunity coming soon.
Yeah.
No, and I'll call Chris or my brother or whatever. I've called you in the past, and I would literally say, all right, this is the first conversation about this situation or about this person. It's going to be the first conversation probably of a few of them, because it's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, what's happening? This is where we're heading. Boom, boom, whatever. This is going to be probably what's going to happen. Boom. And then it happens, and it's like, we've already inoculated ourselves from the end results, which is like the train of thought when you go in to a doctor to like vaccinate yourself, not to get political at any stretch, but they give you a small dosage, right? And then it's supposed to teach your body to fight a small dosage or whatever. So then when the big dosage comes in from the air or whatever, you're able to fight it, right? The same thing with negative or unhealthy influences. If I feel that in my businesses and I know that I'm busting my ass every single day, you're on my radar. And now if you're on my radar, I'm going to go ahead and talk to my partners and do what needs to be done, because I'm also responsible not only for myself, my family, my household, but by default, his household, his family, yours, my brothers, our other partners as well. So it's accountability for me. It's of the utmost importance, and really seeing things for what they are, because we've also done in our history, not with each other, but with other partners, we've done the emotional based, emotional laced, driven decisions and heard things because of the highs or the lows being attached. And when we can look at things in the middle, now we're in a better position to do what? Make objective decisions.
Yep.
And now we're in a place where we're still moving the engine, still moving the machine.
Yeah, and we cut the fat, right? Like, we don't linger in the middle. The moment we smell blood in the water, we're gonna get to a decision and make it.
Yeah.
Because whether that is a right or wrong decision, the time saved in the middle is time gained on what we're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And we take that risk 11 times out of 10. And we're
100%.
willing to say, make a decision that may not always be the best decision, but it is the best decision for what we're trying to accomplish, because our time reverts back to what we're trying to accomplish, whether that be work, whether objective driven, whatever we're trying to get done. If me and you are working on something and I have to worry about how we're communicating or whether you're committed or I'm committed, what's not getting done is that one thing that we're trying to do. So we can't have this in-between party. It needs to be, hey, we're working to get that done. And if you don't do it, I will. Same thing I said, right? And we know that. We know exactly what it is. I know when I involve you guys in something, what to expect and what I'm getting, and vice versa. If you call me and you ask me to do something, you better be ready for full throttle, guns blazing. We're going all in. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
And that goes back to loyalty, trust, and whatever. But it's also
you get a break every now and then too. You come into the gym every day. You lace up. You shoot in the gym. You're there with your partners. You deal with the bullshit. You deal with the highs. You deal with those. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to get that proverbial break.
Yep.
And when it happened last year when I told you, yo, we figured it out. I'm not gonna tell you anything else. Just know we're gonna be good. And a lot of things changed because of the information we were able to absorb and the pieces we were able to kind of put on the board. And now we're in a place where it's like, bro, like everything is thriving. And it's not a mistake. It's not a coincidence. It's not happenstance. It's because we come in every single day and we look at things objectively for what they are, not what we want them to be, you know, wearing rose-colored glasses or whatever.
Yeah, and it's super bittersweet because, you know, we've as much as we enjoy sitting there looking up at the high mountain, like, wow, look at it. Like, we've also stood at the cliff and looked down.
Yeah.
We've been like, damn, bro, like this we got to deal with, whatever, you know, may be. But we've always embraced the positive and negatives with a smile and with each other at our sides.
Yeah, and if you can get lucky enough to have the type of relationship that we have working together, you start being able to appreciate people's macro and micro expressions.
Of course.
Like, I don't need to tell you. You know, you walk into my office and I'm on a certain frequency or my energy, you either know that you can play around with me or not.
Right.
Same thing I go with Chris. Like, I walk into Chris' office, first thing I go is, hey, are you on the phone? Hey, are you on the phone? Because if I don't ask those things, I don't want to disrupt what frequency you're on.
Of course.
Because sometimes it's hard to get back there, especially with little minor interruptions or whatever the case may be. So I think that type of longevity and the trust and the rapport and the wins and the losses, it all comes together for those very little moments, like walking in and knowing whether or not they're in the zone or not. So like, yes, the milestones are cool. Yes, the bigger warehouses are cool. Yes, fancier equipment, but it all comes down to those moments that don't get on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that actually segues into the last segment of our chat today, which we do with every guest. It's a rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Answer as quick as you can, whatever comes to mind first. I was going to ask you what your favorite Shopify app was. I'll ask you that, but I want to ask you something else. So what's your favorite Shopify app right now?
Klaviyo, however you want to say it.
Klaviyo, yeah. Well, great, because email is important. And email marketing is one of the best tools. Now, what's your favorite productivity tool? Keep yourself sane.
Sheesh. Probably Google Analytics.
Okay, nice. I like that. So if you had to pick any advice that you've gotten, whether it's through someone here or in general that you've ever received for business, what would be that advice that you received that you really, really, really took to heart?
Doesn't matter how much you work, it's what you get done.
Perfect. And I agree 100%. If you had to go back to your first store, Shopify store, what would you do differently? It's a loaded one.
Yeah.
I would go back and do it again, but
Knowing what you know now?
yeah, knowing what I know now. But at the time, I wouldn't change anything because it's step one, right? You don't get to step 10 without step one. So I wouldn't change anything, but I would do it again with a lot more knowledge and a lot more precision.
and and the last question is a fun one. Like, what's your go-to strategy or thing you do to unwind after a busy day? Like, you could be honest. You play games.
Probably like video games, or honestly talk to you guys and talk shit.
Yeah.
Talk shit and meaningless shit, but it's fun.
Yeah.
We all enjoy. We disconnect and throw shots at each other.
Yeah.
And someone's always a target. One of us is always a target.
Everybody has their armor vest on.
Yeah.
Facts.
Sometimes it's your day. Sometimes you give
I'm
me
older,
something
so
to take
mine's made out of mithril, like what the freaking folks in the Renaissance used to wear.
Yeah, we don't
the
care.
chain metal.
Exactly.
We're going to get you.
You think so? All right. Well, look, Adrian, I appreciate you jumping on the podcast today. Again, everybody who's watching, you get to learn from folks like Adrian and other guests that we'll have on the show in the coming weeks. We're very excited because it's the little tidbits that you're going to get out of this episode that's going to help you kind of go from step 1 to 2. In some instances, folks who are in step 10 to 15. E-commerce is a strong business strategy and approach. Just be mindful of a lot of the pitfalls that Adrian kind of mentioned in this episode. If you're watching this for the first time and you love this content, I'm going to actually put Adrian's Instagram profile below. Send him a message, show him some love. Please make sure, again, to share this episode and hit the like and comment anything you want. And we're very responsive, even on any medium where our podcast is shared. Thank you for watching the episode, and we appreciate you guys. And thanks, Adrian.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.